Hey guys, welcome back here to Andertons TV and our weekend of ESP takeovers. Next we're going over to a Q&A and a playthrough with Mike Schleibaum from the band Darkest Hour. So look out for this. Take it away, Mike. Thank you.
What up?
Cool.
Digital world.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm good, man. Coming at you live from Washington, D.C. here at the Riff Dojo. We've turned off all the amps so we could talk to you. And
Yeah.
That is amps. That is
Looks
amps.
like you can make quite the noise in that room there, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. But me and my neighbors are cool. They only know that we're only into a few things over here. Drinking, smoking, and listening to heavy metal super loud. And they're like, that's what they do. So they know it gets loud over here and it's cool.
You got it covered. Awesome. Right. So, Mike, when it comes to guitars, obviously you're with ESP. What is it about these ESP guitars and the brand that works so well for you?
Well, I mean, first let me say thanks for having me on the old web takeover. This is awesome. And also I'd like to say it's an honor to be sponsored by ESP and have this really cool signature guitar.
Very nice.
Right. And the thing about ESP is, you know, I've been playing guitar in Darkest Hour for 25 years. We've been touring all over the world. And I've been lucky enough to have a few brand endorsements, if you will. And as you can see behind me, I've owned every shape and style of heavy metal guitar that exists. I love them, you know. And so, of course, I gravitated to ESP because the king himself, Mr. James Hetfield, has an amazing signature there. And Metallica has been playing them forever. So if you're a metalhead, you know about the brand ESP. But once you interact with the guitars, you start to realize like they make the best high performance, high velocity, you know, I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole them as a heavy metal company, but I love heavy metal. And so that draws me to how technically perfect the guitars are, you know? And so then it wasn't long until we connected with the company, because they are also very supportive of young heavy metal artists. And you're going to see a lot of brands all over the place. And the thing about ESP is they will support young artists, and you're going to see young artists playing it. And some people say like, wow, they have so many artists that they endorse, but that's the thing. Like, they're very supportive. So they're tied into heavy metal. They make amazing guitars. So it wasn't long until we connected. And then it was like over a decade-long relationship, because again, you know, this shape that I play, the Arrow, wasn't originally with ESP before when I joined, you know. So I played the single cutaway style for a while, the Eclipse, and I've jumbled around on all the different shapes. And then one day, my buddy at ESP, Tony, sent me a ESP E2 Arrow, and oh man, did I fall in love with it. I still got it somewhere over here. It's black. I ripped it apart, took out everything, tried to make it like my guitar right now. And I took that thing on tour forever, you know, and it really started to become used in every photo, just started, you know, it started to look right, feel right. And eventually the ESP approached me about making a production model. Well, no, first it was a model that I just wanted, which was my custom. And then from there, it was the production. So that's kind of a really long answer to your question.
Right.
Cool. It's interesting though, because it wasn't until I tried an Arrow that you realize kind of visually when you play, to me at least, it's like, okay, you don't realize how visible the fretboard is. I think you don't like often.
It's all about access.
Yeah.
This thing, okay, we're a live band. Okay. So this guitar, this entire decision behind this shape is about playing the sickest, heaviest, fastest stuff you can play with having full access. I mean, also you do look like a heavy metal badass. Okay.
Totally.
But the thing is, you know, that's what it's about. It's about access for me. And this design, you know, I've done a lot of things to make this my own. They're all very different, the arrows that they make. But the design that's happening here, the way that you have the shorter V and where it sits, and you can see it in my playthrough videos, the way that it sits here. Okay. When I'm playing and moving around the stage, this is not getting in my way.
Right.
Okay? And then when it's time for that serious badass part you all want to see, instead of having to find a monitor, okay, or with like a single cutaway, you've got to kind of shift up, right? You see like Zakk Wylde to do this thing.
The leg thing,
right?
Yeah.
But with this thing, bam, you just pop that bad boy right there, and you've got this solid, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you shift, and now you can move your leg.
Sure.
Right? Now, if you have a King V version of this, right? If you're basically, as soon as you move your leg, this happens.
Right.
And you don't have the ability to do this. So the offset V is super important. So yeah, this shape, it did it for me, because now my playing had evolved, and now live I could hit those things. They were in tune. And then let me tell you, that's addicting, regardless of the look, like just having a good show, you know, and like having it look good on video, and knowing that you lived up to the expectations of the people that came to see you, who've been listening to these records forever and think it's just going to be like, you know.
Awesome. So your signature guitar, what makes that unique in terms of what's the standard model that's available?
All right, buckle your
here we go.
You know what I mean?
We're gonna get
technical. Right? Okay, so check it out. It's an Arrow. You're like, what's the point? Okay, yeah. Now it is Olympic white. Now you got your Snow White Arrow, but Olympic white's cooler because it's gonna turn yellow, like a legit jam. Okay. Now, so I like that classic look, because like you were mentioning before that you liked an artist who had a white guitar. I also liked that look that, you know, the Het had back in the day with the white Explorer that had kind of yellowed. And so I always was driven to, you know, I like Olympic white, and I like the idea of having a guitar that I don't care when it gets beat up. It just looks cooler and it just gets more played and just looks lived in, you know? So I picked Olympic white specifically so that it would do that and it would feel like that, you know? And so then we get in, so now we're talking about the cosmetic stuff. That's the obvious stuff that's different from any other V. Okay, they do have a line of Snow White Vs, but this is Olympic white, so I said it's cooler. Also, big, huge block inlays, because I want to see what's happening when I'm moving around, running around. Also, I think it kind of helps offset the space shape with a little classic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, really
then always a reverse headstock, because all you shredders out there know, like, man, we got to have that reverse headstock. You know what I mean? The most important thing to me, I think, is that we got a Floyd here, because the Floyd Rose is kind of like is my religion. You know what I mean? Like, I have to have the F spacing so that I can have, you know, the specific stuff like that awesome shred space. You know, but that's not unique. You can get arrows with the Floyd, but this is a nice Floyd, right? Also, this has the James Hetfield EMG in there. We have done numerous shootouts with the old pickups here. You know, every EMG, every Duncan, and I do like Seymour Duncan style pickups, you know, but the winner, the head had to go in there. This thing live just, I want to say it almost kind of compresses it a little bit and makes the playing cleaner and evener, but not in a bad way. So that's kind of what's obvious. I mean, other than we've got one knob, you know, to rule them all instead of like a whole bunch of other crap, because before my Rockstar days, I was a bike messenger, and bike messengers, we would go all around the city and deliver stuff, and we would soup our bikes up so that they just wouldn't break. And that meant just taking everything off them. Right. The brakes, the gears, the whole thing, like everything. So this is like a track bike for anybody who's a bike rider. Like there's nothing, this goes wrong live. Well, what's the problem? Jack, pickup, knob, figure it out during changeover. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So then you get into the wood. Okay. Because the wood is unique. This is it's 3 mahogany, ebony, you know, fretboard, but that makes it considerably heavy, but also a dense V, you know? Yeah. So that helps you really get resonance here with this pickup, and it doesn't make it sound flat, you know, just full on. And now you're like, wow, that's pretty different. That's pretty cool. But let me tell you, if you really give a shit, what's different about this is the scale. Okay. 24.75. There may be some other arrow style that's like that, but listen, a normal 24 fret scale, normal, you usually have two. You know, you have your bigger scale and your littler scale. I'm not going to say the brands, but you all know what they are. This is 24.75, so it's just tighter than that longer scale, and it really does matter when you're trying to do any kind of your symmetrical long, like your little Cowboys from Hell type thing,
stretchy,
or your Van Halen stretchies, which we love, or if you're like doing your Alexi Laho, rest in peace, arpeggiations. You know what I mean? It's about access, but it's about length. And you're like, he's crazy, whatever. We'll get one, you know, and you'll see that pulls it into that pocket. And that was, you know, to quote Bob Ross, a happy accident. It wasn't really on purpose that happened, but as I've been doing these things and as I've been researching all the details of guitar, it's become obvious that is different, and now I see why it makes it what I like. So in conclusion, only thing I left out was that this is a different color, you know, pickup ring, which is just something which will get to be the color of the guitar once it fades, which we match. But you know, chrome hardware, that's about it.
Sure. So, put a lot of thought into that in terms of, you know, playability versus cosmetics and the whole thing. So
I mean, wouldn't you, if ESP was like, yo, dude, we're gonna make you, I didn't tell you about there's that part that's got my signature. That's pretty cool too on the back.
Oh, nice.
So that way, you know, it ain't too ballin'. You could be playing this at your own show. You're probably better than me. So you rock this thing on stage. People are like, damn, what's that? That's my signature. They don't even need to know that I got your back over here.
Yeah, totally.
What's interesting about that is there's a lot of experience that's clearly gone into that. A lot of years on the road, a lot of shows, a lot of thought has come out with that design, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this guitar is actually meant to be lived in backstage. You know what I mean? Because the weird thing is that's where we end up playing guitar the most. Like you get to the venue, you load in. For me, either I go get in trouble or I play guitar. You know what I mean? And then the show starts, and then the best thing to do is be warming up and playing guitar, and then it's time to play. So these guitars, they're played all day, you know, when we exist with them, you know, and I think that you end up getting like stupidly detailed with the things you love about them because they become like a band member. They're in the room taking up a seat. Because like I said, they're not in the guitar boat and they're not in the trailer. They're like in the bus, like taking up a seat. Like, fuck, why is your guitar everywhere? You know what I mean? And that's once you immerse yourself in it, then you end up liking, you know, coming up with every stupid detail. But in the end, I'm so glad it exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, that's
absolutely cool. Well, I'm glad you're so pleased with it too. So, when it comes to recording, obviously, you know, you have to be finicky, and sometimes people have like go-to instruments that are like, you know, consistently great every time you use it. Have you got a go-to ESP for studio stuff, or do you change it up depending on what's going on?
Well, none of these, this line, not even my ESP that you may have seen, anybody may have seen pictures or videos of me, the first one of these existed when I recorded the last full-length record we had. Now, we have done a bunch of, you know, recordings that have come out on the internet and whatever that have used these guitars, and I've been using these because I want to know how does it work. And I've been, you know, it's man, there's so much chatter on the internet about LTD, ESP, E2 or whatever, and I'm telling you, like, you know what you all should be talking about is, have you changed your battery? Because really the output volume of the guitar based on how new or old the battery is has more to do with the signal I'm getting of the guitar. And then it is, have you changed your strings? Have you set it up right? Because I'm telling you, like, I've got even the bottom line ESP LTD Eclipse over here somewhere, one of these, and it stays in tune and plays awesome because we love guitars and we've stretched it out. We've done whatever. And so, you know, as far as a special ESP that we record with, we definitely live by the rule that the worst thing said is we always do things this way. So we're constantly changing things up, you know, even on the things. But I will say we do have an Evertune ESP over here we'll use for stuff that maybe is an A. But I'm not personally a big fan of the Evertune because I like the expressiveness of going out of tune. So a lot of the guitars we'll use will be Floyd's. And because I mentioned the F spacing of the pickups and the strings is big if you get used to that. So I've got over there, well, I mean, you asked the question. I might as well show you. Hold on. Why not? It's right here. So this was my first ESP E2 that they sent me that I tore that thing up.
Yeah.
That is a Bill Lawrence 500 XL or ML, whatever. That's the real deal. I mean, I do like the dime, but that's the original. Like, I used to collect those when I was a kid because I thought that was the secret. And little did I know, like, dude, you have to play good. You know what I mean? But so this guitar, it, like, honestly was one that we used a lot because this Bill Lawrence and this guitar have a kind of unique kind of, like, the snarl of the Bill Lawrence is tamed by the sound of whatever's happening in the wood here. This Bill Lawrence does not sound good in the other guitars, trust me. But this one specifically, the combination of whatever's going on with the wood here and the Bill Lawrence does sound really nasty and cool. So this would be my go-to to maybe put on top of a couple of the cleaner ones that I would do with the LTD over the, you know, my signature, because that one is definitely is the sound that I want, that cuts through, that's like sheen, that's pro, that's like, But this one is the one that gives you some personality and keeps it a little punk. So I definitely think there's something to having a few guitars, you know, in your arsenal. So I've got this, like I said, I've got the Evertune. I think the Snakebite is really cool, but I find that I like it more I don't like it so much in the lower tunings. And again, once there's no Floyd Rose, it starts to it doesn't feel right in my hand. And then I start thinking, am I playing it good enough? And then, you know, so this.
Sorry, Mike. I was going to say, you talked about setup, you talked about battery, you talked about the actual kind of choice of the instrument, where in the range it is. What advice would you give a beginner guitarist who's actively, okay, I'm looking on here, I'm looking on this site, I wanna get something. What do I do?
First of all, you buy this guitar.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Correct.
All right. This is what I would suggest any young guitar player does. Look around your room right now and figure out, do you actually already have what you need to get to where you need to be playing wise? Because I think the number one mistake that people make, and I'm going to get roasted on this thing, is buying shit they don't need. Okay. And not spending time playing and spending time tinkering and doing, like, I know that's not good for a sales pitch here, but I do think it's important to encourage people to play, because once you start playing all the time, your interests and your needs might shift, you know? And I think what I found is that, like, once I started really diving into playing, I realized that my needs and my wants shifted, and like that allowed me to start buying things in the right direction, you know? And so I do think there's a lot of people who love guitar, who love shredding guitar or whatever, that are going to gravitate to this guitar, you know? But I think it's important for players to realize, like, it's way more important that you get good at playing and you enjoy what you're doing, and you don't go into mountains of debt so you have to work at wherever instead of doing your art. So I think the first thing is figure out what you have, and then figure out, do you have what you need to start pushing your playing in the right direction? Do that. And then once you're doing that, then you're going to find out, man, you know what I need is a 24 fret flying V with the fucking James. Where am I going to get that?
Great advice.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
But that was about what they should buy here. But if I was going to give someone advice about their playing, I would tell them, slow the fuck down, everyone. You know, not even once you can play, like I'm saying, once you can play the song, slow the fuck down. This is what I'm working on. It was put to me very well recently by a producer friend of mine who I'm in another band with, who is constantly talking to me about and saying stuff like this, that playing, shredding, riffing with your right hand, everything, it's like dancing. If you watch someone dance and they're right on top of the beat, it doesn't look cool. But if you watch like Prince dance, you know, someone who looks cool dancing, they're really behind, they're sitting back on the beat. So I'm not even talking about slowing down, because the best way to learn something is 60% speed for 3 weeks and then speed it up. I'm talking about, even once you can play something, listen to how you're interacting with like the kick and the snare. And I mean, a lot of modern metal is so gridded and put in the computer that people aren't even thinking about this. But I guarantee if you listen to the left and right overdubs of Vulgar Display of Power, it's not as tight as you think. It's just tight enough to make it wide. And he's playing with a drummer as much as he's playing with the click, or they're all playing with the click as much as they're playing with each other, so that it actually grooves together. And I think that's the thing that a lot of stuff's missing from a lot of guitar jargon. I hear a lot about this, a lot about technique or ideas, but I don't hear a lot about like overall feel, like push it back, you know, and it is important to work on.
It sounds heavier too, right?
Well, when the band plays together and grooves together, it sounds like music. And I think the thing is, it sounds heavy when stuff's like mechanically on, and I understand why it's an impulse for people to want to go there, but there's a special type of feeling that happens inside your soul when you hear like maybe Van Halen, where stuff isn't on the grid and it's pushing over that stuff, and it's, you know, and that to me is like why I played music in the first place, and the feeling I want people to have. So I
Totally.
think there's that magic in there, you know.
Great suggestion, great advice. So with your own practice, you know, what kind of things are you working on these days, or what motivates you to keep stretching yourself as a musician?
All right, so a lot of people might think like, oh, you got an ESP signature deal, you got a basement full of shit, man. Damn, you don't need to practice, you know. But actually, I've been using this time that we've been stuck away from everyone to really dig into practicing, watching old videos of what we've been doing, you know, and just being like, oh fuck, like what, like, you know, really, it's kind of like if you've ever gone on a long vacation without your guitar and come back to playing, you kind of have a lot, like a few realizations, like, whoa, you know. And so what I've done is I've started practicing more on a regimen, like 3 hours a day. And a lot of people don't have like 3 hours a day to do like with their life, but I am in a band for a living, so I do have time to dedicate to rehearsal. So what I do is I have 2 or 3 different playlists of kind of tracks I've made. And we over here, we love everything. We love Guitar Pro. We love all sorts of apps that slow down, speed up, filter out stuff. We love going on to YouTube and finding stems and figuring out that stuff. Watch making a playlist of 10 different lessons of a Zakk Wylde solo so you can figure out exactly how it's supposed to be played. Oh, my favorite, Rock You Like the Hurricane. Like, people should just go watch how the guy played it live if you want to know how it's played. Like, there's 20 different lessons of how to play that solo, and half of them are in the wrong position. So you have to sort of study. So anyway, I've been really into a kind of fun tangent that is like 2 separate playlists. One that is rehearsing Darkest Hour solos. We're going to be playing a whole album live when we do get back to playing in September. So I've been working on that. And what I'll do is I'll loop all the solos 6 times at like 60% speed on a 30-minute like playlist, hit record, and just for 30 minutes, rip through all that, you know. Then I'll go do something else, come back. And I also have a playlist of all of my favorite solos that I've really been working on forever at 60% speed. And something that I've been doing is only practicing at 60% speed. I think a lot of people who get into this slow downing, speeding up or whatever for technique, they get into moving around. But I'm just like, what if you stick and you wait, you know, you strength build for like 3 months at, you know, doing bends and things at slow speed. Like my solo playlist is a bunch of dime solos because they have almost everything in them that I want. A Marty Friedman solo or 2 because actually his solo style is a little closer to what's happening in Darkest Hour. Some Zakk Wylde, because one thing I'm really trying to work on is bends and different type of stuff that he does. I don't necessarily need to be bluesy all the time, but just more like a lot of Darkest Hour is more gridded up, and some of these guys I'm talking about are a little more fluid, you know. And then I also have a couple AC/DC solos because I think people don't realize that they're a lot harder than shreddy solos, because you have to get lyrical with the bends and you have to figure out what is Angus Young trying to sing, you know. And then I have a couple Scorpion solos because I think that they're iconic, and it's a good way to just get used to the way the harmonies work, because Scorpions had a really nice pop sense for how to put that together, right? So I have another one of the guitars set up in E that I'll run a playlist of that. And then it's funny, like I have this song by Ozzy called Devil's Daughter. It's off of No Rest for the Wicked. Probably a song that not a lot of people know because there's no guitar solo, but the whole song involves bending like double stops with your fingers not barred. Like you have not like, so I know I'm getting into a tangent, but just stuff like that, like practicing solo techniques of solos I love is a thing that I've been doing since I was a kid, and I've just embraced it because more than learning scales and theory, that is what drives me to want to pick up the guitar and have fun. So I'll make a playlist of solos I want to be working on and techniques, and then I'll make a playlist of stuff I need to actually know how to play. And then I try to create and write after I'm warmed up so that I'm always making something new, because working on a record, I don't want to blow all my time rehearsing, you know. And then the last thing I want to shout out is, I know I've talked about like there's YouTube lessons and there's stuff like that, but one resource that I really like a lot is this thing called Lick Library, which is hilarious because it popped up on my like credit card statement or something because it's like a monthly subscription. And my wife was like, what the fuck's Lick Library? And I was like, oh, don't worry. It's not a porn site. It's it's this guitar solo site. But anyway, it's cool because they have lessons and they have sort of they have backtracks on there. So I will get into the weeds and like, you know, do stuff like that you know, maybe younger kids who are shredding are trying to, because I don't think you're ever too young to like learn how to do that.
Sure.
So if that's the fuel that you've got at the moment, what can we expect from Darkest Hour?
Oh, well, first, hold on, man. My cat, there's a dojo cat. He's freaking out. He wants to come in. Hold on. I want to
also get involved in the interview, right?
Yeah. Come on in, man. Okay. Crazy. You said what's up for Darkest Hour. I wanted to show you. I got right here. Well, right now, man, a lot of people probably don't know what this is, but we've got a Patreon going on. It's like a monthly subscription, just like Lick Library. We've been making all these like limited records that you can only get from the band. This is like a live record that was never released, hand numbered. This is another live record that was never released. These are some punk covers that were never released. They're all on cool, like, these are fun. They're like, everyone's on a different color. So I don't know. This one, oh yeah, baby blue. That's pretty cool. You know? So we've been—
These are like archived recordings that you've
actually, okay, so this is interesting. So we have been putting out music this entire pandemic because we started with oh shit, touring's canceled. Yeah. But hey, we had just started this Patreon that was just going to be like a vinyl club or something, whatever, right? And then it sort of just doubled down to where it was like the only place we were generating any income, but it was doing well. So since we've launched it, we've released, you know, these 3 different vinyl records, plus we put out all sorts of like different special items like wall flags and t-shirts or whatever. But this record right here, Undoing Ruin Live at the Black Hat, is from 2015, and it's in like a studio. It's like a real live record, as in the sense that it's in front of people and they were, you know, this was a real concert. And this is part of a DVD that we made as well. And these are all unlimited, different colored. You know, this one's red or something, purple. Cool. And so this sold out right away. This is super limited. So then what we did is a live stream that was kind of like a live concert, except for nobody was there. And that's what this is, because it came out so good. So this is basically a live— it says live in lockdown, but it's live in isolation. Basically, it's like, but what it did become is a really awesome greatest hits album, you know, which we weren't even thinking. Because while that other album is like us doing an album in its entirety live, this is like us doing all the songs we would do live, which is like all of, you know, songs you want to hear, kind of all done with one production, all that sounds really good, all on one record. So in a weird way, like, this is Darkest Hour greatest hits album, you know. And then we did something really special. This is a covers 7-inch of Black Flag and Minor Threat, because we're from Washington DC and we love punk, and we kind of made them a little heavy metal. And this is super limited. And the cool thing about this is, to be able to do this, we had to get the blessing from those bands, and we had to contact them. And, you know, these are ultra limited as part of our 25th anniversary thing. So these are kind of harder to get, but this is what Darkest Hour has been doing. Like, we've been putting out music, and we've also been working on a new record. So right now, the best place to interact with us is on this monthly subscription service called Patreon. But also, of course, if you're like a lot of people who don't have money for that, or if you just want to interact with the band or get to know the band because you're like, I don't even know who the fuck this guy is, we're of course all over the place on every social media that exists possible, so you can find us. And we are working on album 10, and that will hopefully come out probably, you know, next year, to be honest, based on all of the other stuff that we're releasing here, that's still yet to come out, because we have stuff that's already being pressed and worked on and everything in general. So yeah, there's a lot happening.
Still going on. That's great.
And we really, you know, the main focus is the new album. Like I tell people, we're not we're not a Patreon. We're a band. We just happen to be a band that is currently on Patreon, but we are going to get to playing shows soon too.
Cool. Epic. That's great. So with that, on the topic of playing shows, etc., thinking back to your touring decades, where's the weirdest place you found yourself sleeping on the road?
Oh my God. I love this question. Also, my cat, look at her. She just needs to be up here for part of the interview, if that's okay with you guys. Totally. Listen, I was thinking, okay, the worst place to sleep is the ditch of the van. Okay. And you're like, what am I talking about? So let me explain to people. All right. American vans are not set up like Sprinters. They're set up like maybe something you've seen in an old movie. Okay. We don't have a tall ceiling. It's a long van and it has longer seats. They're not bucket seats. They're long bench seats. Okay. So we usually travel, if we've got to travel in a van with a trailer, which is our skeleton style of traveling, we will travel with about 8 or 9 people, which is a lot of people in a van that says it's a 15 passenger, but when everyone wants to lie down, it gets ugly. So I happen to be, on the smaller side of dudes in the van. So I get elected to always have this spot that's the ditch. So you have a bench seat, right? And then you have the next seat, and then you have the floor. So what I do is I'll go get like some egg crate foam or something that needs to be kind of thin because you don't have a lot of room down there. You roll that out, then you put a sleeping bag down there. Then you got to dig out all the trash that's underneath the seats. Because that's the other thing. Dudes just throw trash down there all day. And if you're going to sleep on the floor of a van where everybody's feet's in, you got to kind of clean it up a little bit, right? Then the trick is you got to take your left arm and you got to slide it underneath that front seat so they can get your whole body in there. So then you can sleep like that. And then your feet are out like kind of in an L shape. But then you've got this arm, so this arm's got to be totally flat, or you can maybe use it as a pillow. But basically, as long as you can sleep in that L shape the whole ride, you're good. And if you can like kind of wipe out in your head that if you're in an accident, it's a really bad situation. But I've slept in that position for like a decade, and it's the worst.
That is an
hate it. I hate getting in the ditch. I hate getting the ditch. And, but nobody wants to be in that van seat, like leaning, doing the lean.
No,
when they know they can lay on the bench. So they're like, dude, get in the ditch, man. Get in the ditch.
Pure improvisation.
But also, I slept in an apartment one time. We got dropped off at this apartment the promoter had hooked up, and it turned out we got in there. There's all this weird writing everywhere, like paper stickers, a paper sticker seal. When we opened the door, we couldn't figure out. We walk in the room, and there's like a radio playing. And we're like, that's weird. There's nobody here, but there's a radio playing. And then all of a sudden, like we think that the faucet turns on. And we're like, that's weird that somebody goes and turns off the faucet. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take the first shower because I drove. So I went in to go take a shower. I come back out. It turns out everybody's learned since I was in the shower that somebody just died in this apartment like yesterday. Nobody's been back since they removed the body. The promoter hooked us up with a place to stay. Everything's still all over the place because the person's shit's still ever. We're like, what the fuck? And the other guy slept there. I slept in the van because I swear to God that the spirit was still there. It was fucked up. So I was also thinking about that sucked, and also the ditch sucked.
Yeah.
There was also a time. There's so many good times. There was a time we slept and there was an infestation of mosquitoes that we didn't know until the morning. That sucked too. Brilliant. Covered with mosquito bites. I mean, I could just keep going, but I just prefer to forget, in a state of thankfulness.
What about rest days? What do you tend to do?
Well, now that we're older, we're a little more organized, man. We do. Yeah. We are travelers, man. We do like to see a lot of sights. I think it's kind of the one thing that really makes it a good excuse to our families and our friends when we're traveling all the time, like why we do it. So we're pretty big into history. We'll go see stuff. Also, we are that band that after the show, like we'll drink, pack up, load out. We will help load out or do whatever. then we will all go walk around that fucking city till like 5 a.m. until bus call. And we'll go walk like 40 miles over here to some weird pub and then over here. And like, we are all about walking around and doing stuff. So if we have a day off, we'll plan ahead, you know, but we really don't try to plan days off, you know, because days off are bad for everybody but the singer. You know, he needs it, but the rest of us, like, days off are when people spend money, you know, they go to the mall and buy a bunch of bullshit, or they, you know, end up getting drunk the night before because they can sleep all day. So we just try to like just hit it 30 days in a row or whatever and get that money, you know.
Sure.
But
Get it in the bank.
But now that we're older, if we do get a day off, like I said, we'll go to the Grand Canyon, we'll go to the beach. You know what I mean? We'll drive out of our way to get a hotel somewhere that is going to cost us money, gas or whatever, just because we want to do something. We've learned that our time traveling and going places is finite. Like, if you've ever been on tour with a bunch of people who've toured a bunch, they can sometimes act like, well, I'll be in Munich again in a month, you know, but you really never know how many more times you're going to be in some of these cities, and you have to kind of like enjoy them. So we are all about that, you know, eating new foods. We love trying local stuff. Seriously, like if it's like, we do have some vegetarians, so we've got like some guys that won't try the crazy meat or whatever, but we're all about drinking the water in Mexico or whatever. Like, we love food and experiencing cultures through food and beer and alcohol. We like all the different alcohols and all the, how do you say cheers in every, you know, language. We're all into that. So, you know, that's the shit we're into: heavy metal and partying, and then sightseeing. Really.
That's cool. That sounds great.
And guitars, mainly guitar.
So if you were like Neo from the Matrix, and you could plug into the Matrix and have one new guitar skill or technique downloaded instantly that isn't currently in your arsenal, what would you get loaded in?
Vibrato, put it in there. I don't have any. What is the problem? I want Marty Friedman's. Like, just, I think when I was younger, there was so little focus on bending. Like, it was all about, can I play fast? Can I sweep? Can I alternate pick? Can I right hand tremolo pick? Can I play bar chords in tune? Can I jump off a drum riser? But like, now I find myself trying to learn Stevie Ray Vaughan songs now, which I never would have done, you know, and I know they're super hard because there's so many fills, and it's maddening. It's like Van Halen on crack. Like, if you think it's hard to learn a Van Halen song, try to learn a Jimi Hendrix song the way he played it all the way through, even, you know? So now that I've developed this more like playlist, slow down, listen to songs slower and play with them approach, I've been able to start to mimic the bending styles of some of my favorite artists. And I start to realize, like, that is where I need the most work. And I also think it's important to say that, like, everybody's got some Neo plugin that they need, you know. But sometimes getting something right away without working for it doesn't work out for you. You know what I mean? So I think that the answer that I was going to say is that when people run into these easily definable wants for that question, I think that they should look at that as a real opportunity, because as a player, it's really easy to hit a plateau and just not know what the fuck to do. I think I run into that the most with people, like, who are talking to me about they're playing, like, yeah, I'm good, but I never really learned how to play that solo. Like, how'd you do that? You know? And it's like, you know, to get past that, to that next plateau, you have to define where is the problem. So, you know, and then work through that problem, and that will lead you to a new problem. So, you know, my plugin would be for bends.
So with that in mind, if you could play for any band at any point in time, metal or otherwise, you had to pick one and you could do a show, what would you do?
All right, so this is tough, because like, if you pick like fucking like think about the horror story you've just presented. Like, if Zakk Wylde's gonna get shit thrown at him because he's not, you know, Randy Rhoads, you know, or Jakey Lee's gonna get shit thrown at him and he's good as shit. like, what if you get your wish and you do get to play for Van Halen, you know, because Eddie's gone. So now you get the call. Well, can you do that? Or do you want to just get booed off the stage by every person that hates you? So I'm just going to say the caveat is that I'm going to have years to practice whatever position I'm going to go for here. But if I could pick a band, it would absolutely be one of my, you know, my favorites, you know, Van Halen, AC/DC, Metallica, you know, I don't think I'd throw Pantera in there because I just think that would be too hard to manage. But I do think I don't know, for some reason I'm drawn to just say Van Halen because, dude, I want to hang out with fucking Dave Lee Roth, period.
Sure.
I never met him. I did get to meet Eddie a few times. I met Michael Anthony. I bet Alex is badass, but he's the one guy that just hides probably. But man, I got to hang out with Dave Lee Roth.
See it in the flesh.
We'll do a set of his Vi songs, even though I'll butcher that.
Great answer.
That's amazing.
I should have picked something easy like 7 seconds. I could do that. Minor Threat. I should have said Minor Threat. Fugazi. I should have gone with Punk, but whatever.
Excellent.
Too many answers to that.
Amazing. That's some amazing answers you've given there, Mike. So thanks so much for your time. And we look forward to seeing what Darkest Hour bring out once the world allows shows and tours and everything to you know.
We're coming to your island. We're coming.
Excellent.
March 2022, I hope. That's the word on the old internet to my handlers telling me. March of 2022 might be the next time we're coming your way. We're going to give time for the vaccines and everything to roll out and people get used to what a concert's like.
Yeah.
Because we like to throw down. We like to share the bottle, pass the joint around, you know, just get stupid, sweat on each other, spit on each other. So, you know, might be a minute till we have the okay to do that. But once we do, that's the type of concert we're trying to talk about.
Awesome.
You're bringing it. Excellent stuff. Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to that.
Cheers, man.